Lena's life had always been full of hard work. She grew up in a small, modest neighborhood, one where many people struggled to make ends meet. From a young age, Lena knew that education was her way out. But like so many others, she didn't have the resources or connections to go far. She was just an ordinary girl, living in a world where extraordinary things felt out of reach. Every day, Lena would wake up early. The sunlight hadn't even fully risen before she was already at the mansion where she worked. Her job was simple yet exhausting. She was a maid, cleaning the large rooms of an estate that seemed so far from her world. The house was beautiful, filled with expensive furniture, portraits of people she didn't know, and delicate chandeliers that glowed in the sunlight. But for Lena, it was just a place she cleaned. She had learned to scrub the floors, dust the shelves, and take care of the rooms without ever asking questions. She didn't mind the work, not really. What bothered her was the way the world saw her. To many, she was just a maid. To some, she was invisible. But Lena never let that stop her. She kept her head down, focused on the job at hand, and dreamed of a better life for herself even though it felt impossible. She wanted more than the small apartment she shared with her mother. She wanted to make something of herself, to show the world that she was capable of great things. But those dreams always felt so far away. One day, while she was cleaning the study room of the mansion, she heard a voice behind her. It wasn't one she was used to hearing, a deep voice that seemed kind and calm. "Excuse me, miss," the voice said. Lena turned around quickly, startled. Standing in the doorway was a man she had never seen before. He looked to be in his mid-60s with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. His clothes were sharp and expensive. He looked out of place in the room where she worked, yet there was something comforting about his presence. "Are you the one who cleans this room?" the man asked. "Yes, sir," Lena replied, nervous. She hadn't expected anyone to be in the study at this hour. "I see," he said, stepping into the room and looking around. "You've done a good job." Lena felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. She had been cleaning this room for months, but no one ever noticed the work she put into it. Hearing someone acknowledge it felt strange. "I appreciate it, sir. I just do my job." The man smiled warmly, his expression softening. "I'm Mr. Bennett," he said, extending his hand. "I own this place." Lena shook his hand, not knowing what to say. She had heard of Mr. Bennett, of course. He was a billionaire, the kind of man who could buy anything he wanted. He was known for his wealth and influence, and she had always assumed he was just another distant figure in the world she could never touch. But here he was, standing in front of her. "I've noticed something about you," Mr. Bennett said after a brief pause. "You seem different from the others. You have a certain focus, a certain intelligence in your eyes." Lena felt a blush creeping up her neck. She wasn't used to such attention, especially not from someone like Mr. Bennett. "I try my best, sir. I've always tried to do the best I can." He nodded thoughtfully. "I believe you. You know, there's something special about people who work hard, who give their best every day. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but you could be doing something much bigger than cleaning rooms. Have you ever considered going to college? Getting a degree? Using your intelligence for something greater?" Lena was taken aback. College? The idea had always seemed like a dream, something for other people. She had never thought it was for someone like her. "I don't have the money for college," she said, her voice quiet. "I don't think it's possible for someone like me." Mr. Bennett studied her for a moment as though he was weighing something in his mind. Then, with a surprising smile, he said, "What if I could help you? I have a scholarship fund for people who show promise but don't have the means to attend school. You've impressed me, Lena. I think you could do great things if given the chance. I'd like to offer you that chance." Lena's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know if she had heard him correctly. Scholarship for her? It seemed too good to be true. "Are you serious, sir?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am," Mr. Bennett said, his eyes kind. "I believe in helping people when I can. You've shown me that you deserve an opportunity, and I want to make sure you get it." Lena couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was as if someone had opened a door she hadn't even known was there. She had always dreamed of going to college, of having a life beyond the walls of the mansion where she worked. But she had never thought it was possible. Now here was a man offering her a chance to make that dream a reality. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Thank you. I don't even know if I deserve this." Mr. Bennett's smile was warm. "Everyone deserves a chance, Lena. All you have to do is take it. I'll make the arrangements." You just focus on your studies, and when the time comes, I'm sure you'll make the most of it. Tears welled up in Lena's eyes, but she blinked them away quickly. She didn't want to seem weak, not in front of this man who had just changed her life. But the truth was, she had never felt so overwhelmed, so grateful. For the first time in her life, someone believed in her, and so that day Lena's life took a turn she could never have predicted. She was no longer just the maid in the mansion. She was someone with a future, with possibilities that stretched out in front of her. She knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Nothing in her life ever had been. But for the first time, she felt like she had a real chance to make her dreams come true. Lena's first day at college felt like a dream, and it was hard to believe that it was really happening. As she stepped onto the bustling campus, the sounds of students talking, laughing, and rushing to their classes filled the air. It all seemed so different from the quiet neighborhood where she grew up and the mansion where she had worked. The campus was huge, and she couldn't help but feel small and out of place. It wasn't the school she had imagined. It was a place where everyone seemed so confident, so comfortable in their own skin. It made her wonder how she, a girl from a poor background, could fit in. But she was determined to prove that she belonged here just as much as anyone else. Lena's scholarship from Mr. Bennett had been a miracle. She had worked hard in school, and he had recognized that. But now, in this new environment, she felt like a fish out of water. The students around her seemed to have everything. They had money, nice clothes, and families who could support them. They didn't have to worry about how to pay for books or where their next meal would come from. Lena, on the other hand, was living on the edge. Her scholarship covered tuition, but it didn't cover everything else. She had to find ways to get by. The first few weeks were the hardest. Lena had to get used to everything: the classes, the fast pace, and the long hours of studying. It wasn't just about learning the material. It was about learning how to live in a world where people had so much more than she did. She found herself struggling to fit in, often feeling like she didn't belong. Some students were friendly, but many seemed to ignore her, as if she wasn't on their level. There were days when Lena felt like giving up. She would go to class, try her best, and then go back to her small dorm room where she would study late into the night, trying to catch up. She missed her mom and the small apartment they had shared. She missed the familiarity of home. But there was no turning back now. She had made it this far, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her. One afternoon, as she was walking to class, she ran into a girl she had seen a few times in the library. Her name was Claire, and she was one of the students who always seemed so put together, well-dressed, always smiling, and surrounded by a group of friends. Claire was different from the others. She smiled when she saw Lena, and they started talking. "Hey, I've seen you around the library a lot," Claire said. "What are you studying?" Lena was surprised but happy that someone was reaching out to her. Business," she replied. "I'm trying to get into management." "That's awesome," Claire said. "I'm majoring in marketing. I could definitely use a study buddy. You want to work together sometime?" Lena hesitated at first. She wasn't sure if Claire was just being polite or if she actually wanted to get to know her, but something about the way Claire spoke made Lena feel at ease. "Sure, that sounds good," Lena said with a smile. "I could use the help." From that day on, Claire and Lena started meeting up for study sessions. Claire turned out to be kind and patient, explaining things Lena didn't quite understand. Lena, in turn, helped Claire with the business side of things, and they soon became friends. Claire introduced Lena to her group of friends, who were a mix of students from all over the world. At first, Lena felt like an outsider. She didn't have the same clothes or the same lifestyle as the others, but Claire made her feel comfortable. Slowly, Lena started to open up more, finding her place in the group. She still struggled with the idea that she didn't have the same opportunities as some of her classmates, but being with Claire and her friends made the college experience feel a little less intimidating. Despite making new friends, Lena's journey wasn't without challenges. She often had to work part-time jobs to pay for food and textbooks. Sometimes she would have to skip meals because she couldn't afford them, and the stress of trying to balance work and school took its toll. But she pushed through, driven by the hope that one day it would all pay off. Lena's professors noticed her dedication. They could see how hard she worked, even though she sometimes struggled to keep up with the material. She was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, taking extra time to study, asking questions, and doing everything she could to make sure she understood. There were times when she felt overwhelmed, but she refused to give up. She had come this far, and she wasn't going to waste the opportunity that Mr. Bennett had given her. As the weeks passed, Lena's grades began to improve. She was becoming more confident in her studies and felt like she was finally starting to find her rhythm, but the pressure was still there. She often had to remind herself why she was here, to change her life, to prove that she was more than just the maid who worked in a mansion. She wanted to show everyone, especially herself, that she could succeed in this world, even if it was hard. One evening, after a particularly difficult exam, Lena sat alone in the library, staring at the pile of textbooks in front of her. She was exhausted and frustrated, but there was something in her that kept her going. She thought about her mother, who had always encouraged her to do her best. She thought about Mr. Bennett, who had seen something in her when no one else had. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, trying to find strength in her own words. "This is just the beginning. It's worth it." That night, as she walked back to her dorm room, Lena felt a sense of pride. It wasn't easy, but she was getting through it. She was learning, growing, and pushing herself in ways she never thought possible. As the semester went on, Lena began to feel more at home in the college world. She still had a long way to go, but she had made progress. She had friends, good grades, and the belief that one day she would make something of herself. And though there were days when the weight of it all felt too heavy, Lena knew deep down that she was exactly where she was meant to be. As the years passed, Lena's life at college slowly transformed. What had once felt like an overwhelming challenge had become something she was starting to embrace. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. Her grades had improved. Her social circle had expanded and, most importantly, she was beginning to feel a sense of pride in what she was achieving. But the path to success was never a smooth one. Despite her growing confidence, the weight of her responsibilities often felt unbearable. Balancing her studies with part-time work, trying to make ends meet, and staying on top of her coursework was always a delicate juggling act. There were nights when she barely slept, staying up late to finish assignments and study for exams, only to wake up the next morning and do it all over again. But Lena never complained. She had always been a fighter, and this fight was for her future. Every early morning, every sleepless night, and every difficult decision brought her closer to the life she dreamed of. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she had come too far to turn back now. The scholarship from Mr. Bennett had given her a chance, and she wasn't about to waste it. One of the turning points came in her second year when she was given the opportunity to work on a project for a major tech company. The project was part of an internship program, and Lena had worked hard to secure a spot. The opportunity was a big deal, especially for someone like her, someone who hadn't grown up with connections or privilege. It was a chance to prove that she could compete with the best, that her background didn't define her. Lena threw herself into the project with all her energy and determination. She spent countless hours researching, brainstorming ideas, and collaborating with her team. It wasn't easy. The competition was fierce and the pressure was high. But Lena was used to pressure. She had learned how to handle it during her time in college, and now it felt like she was finally putting all her hard work to the test. Over the next few months, the project took shape, and Lena's role became more and more significant. Her ideas were innovative, and she was praised for her ability to think outside the box. She had always been a problem solver, and this project allowed her to show that in the best possible way. The work was challenging, but it was also exciting. For the first time in her life, Lena felt like she was truly in her element. When the project was finally completed and presented to the company's executives, Lena couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. The executives were impressed with the team's work, and Lena's contributions were recognized as a key factor in the project's success. It was a moment of validation that she had been waiting for. All those late nights, all the stress, all the sacrifices, everything had led to this. But the real reward came a few weeks later, when Lena was offered a full-time position at the company after graduation. It was an opportunity that many of her classmates would have killed for, and it felt like the culmination of all her hard work. She had done it. She had proven to herself and to the world that she was capable of so much more than her circumstances had suggested. Even with the job offer, Lena didn't forget where she had come from. She knew that none of this would have been possible without Mr. Bennett's scholarship, the chance he had given her when no one else believed in her. She still kept in touch with him from time to time, sending him updates on her progress. He was always supportive, offering words of encouragement and advice when she needed it most. Lena had come to see him as more than just the man who had given her a scholarship. He had become a mentor, someone who had helped her navigate the challenges of college and life in general. But as the years went by, Lena began to realize something else. She wasn't just grateful for the chance Mr. Bennett had given her, she also wanted to pay it forward. She wanted to be the person who helped someone else the way he had helped her. She knew that there were others out there like her, people who had potential but lacked the resources to pursue their dreams, and if she could help them, she would. It wasn't just about making money or climbing the corporate ladder anymore. It was about making a difference. Lena's success meant nothing if she couldn't use it to help others. She started researching scholarship programs, looking for ways to give back to the community that had supported her along the way. She didn't have millions of dollars like Mr. Bennett, but she had knowledge, experience, and a deep desire to make a difference. One evening, as she sat in her small apartment, Lena thought about her journey. She thought about the girl who had first stepped onto the college campus unsure of herself and feeling out of place. That girl felt like a lifetime ago. She had come so far since then, accomplishing things she had never imagined possible. But she knew that her journey wasn't just about her. It was about the people who had helped her along the way, the people she could now help in return. Lena's thoughts were interrupted by a call from Claire. Claire had become one of her closest friends over the years, and the two often spoke about their hopes and dreams for the future. "Hey, Lena. How's everything going?" Claire asked, her voice cheerful as always. "Good, actually. I got the job offer and I'm excited, but I've been thinking about something," Lena replied, her voice thoughtful. "I want to do more than just work in a company. I want to help others, you know? I want to give back." Claire paused, clearly intrigued. "What do you mean?" "I don't know exactly how yet, but I want to help people who are in my position. People who don't have the opportunities I had, but who have the drive and potential to do amazing things. Maybe I could start a scholarship fund or something like that," Lena explained. "That's amazing, Lena," Claire said excitedly. "You've been through so much to get to where you are, and you're right. You can make a real difference. I'll help however I can." Lena smiled at Claire's enthusiasm. She felt a renewed sense of purpose in that moment. This was what she was meant to do, use her success to help others who had been overlooked, just like she had been. She knew that her journey was far from over, and that the work ahead would be just as challenging as everything that had come before. But for the first time in her life, she felt ready to face whatever came next and to use her success to change the lives of others. Years passed since Lena's graduation, and she had firmly established herself in the business world. She had proven to herself and others that she could succeed. The full-time position she had earned at the tech company had turned into a fulfilling career, and she had quickly climbed the corporate ladder. She was respected for her work ethic, her innovative ideas, and her ability to connect with others regardless of their background. She had become everything she had dreamed of, and yet something was missing. Lena had always known that her success wasn't just about making money or achieving recognition. She had built her career, yes, but she had also promised herself that she would give back. She remembered how hard things had been in her early days, how she had struggled to make ends meet while trying to balance work and school. But she had made it, and now it was her turn to help others who were in the same position she once was. After a lot of thought, Lena had decided to launch a scholarship fund. She wanted to provide opportunities for underprivileged students, especially young women of color, who faced the same challenges she had. The idea was to help them attend college, get the education they deserved, and eventually have the chance to build a life they could be proud of. It was a way for her to make sure that the doors she had walked through could be opened for others as well. She had been working on the details of the scholarship for months, setting up the fund, figuring out the application process, and determining who would benefit from it. But no matter how much she prepared, there was still a part of her that felt nervous. It was one thing to succeed on her own, but it was another to help others succeed. She knew the responsibility was huge, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized that this was the next step in her journey. It was a late afternoon when Lena received a call that she hadn't expected. It was from Mr. Bennett, the man who had changed her life all those years ago by offering her the scholarship that allowed her to attend college. She had kept in touch with him over the years, sending him updates on her progress. He had always been proud of her, offering guidance whenever she needed it. But this call was different. "Hello, Lena," Mr. Bennett's familiar voice said on the other end of the line. "How are you doing?" "I'm doing well, Mr. Bennett," Lena replied, a smile creeping into her voice. "How are you?" "I'm hanging in there." "Lena, I've been following your success closely, and I have to say, I'm incredibly proud of everything you've accomplished." Lena felt a warmth in her chest. Mr. Bennett's support had always meant so much to her. He had been a mentor, even from afar, and his belief in her had kept her going through the hardest moments of her journey. "Thank you. That means a lot to me," Lena said sincerely. "I've been meaning to reach out to you," Mr. Bennett continued. "I heard you've been working on something important. A scholarship fund, I understand." Lena was surprised. She had mentioned her plans to him a while ago, but she hadn't expected him to follow up so quickly. "Yes, I've been setting it up," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I want to help students who are in the same position I was. I want to give them a chance to go to college and build a future for themselves." Mr. Bennett paused for a moment before responding. "Lena, that's incredible. You've come such a long way, and now you're turning around to help others do the same. I admire that more than you know." Lena felt a wave of gratitude toward him. His words were always so encouraging, and she had come to rely on them whenever she needed a boost. "I've been thinking about something," Mr. Bennett said after a moment. "I'd like to contribute to your scholarship fund." Lena's heart skipped a beat. She had been working hard to fund the scholarship on her own, but the idea of Mr. Bennett contributing was overwhelming. She had never expected that he would want to be involved in this way. I don't know what to say," she stammered, a little taken aback. "That's really generous, but I don't want to put any pressure on you." "No pressure at all, Lena," Mr. Bennett reassured her. "I believe in what you're doing, and if I can help, I'd be honored to contribute." Lena was silent for a moment, overwhelmed by the gesture. She had spent so much time focusing on the logistics of the scholarship, but she had never imagined that someone like Mr. Bennett, someone who had already given her so much, would want to be a part of it again. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," Lena said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "This means more to me than you know." "You deserve it, Lena. You've worked hard for everything you have, and I'm proud to see the woman you've become. Just remember, it's not about what we achieve individually, it's about what we do together. Helping others is what truly matters." Lena couldn't agree more. His words resonated with her deeply, and in that moment she realized that the scholarship was about more than just providing money for college. It was about building a community, supporting one another, and creating opportunities where there had been none. This was her chance to make a lasting impact, to show others that they too could achieve their dreams no matter where they came from. After the call ended, Lena sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. She had started this scholarship with the idea of giving back, but now, with Mr. Bennett's support, it felt even more real. She could see the possibilities ahead. More students who would have the chance to succeed, more lives changed, and more opportunities created. She had always believed that the power of education could change everything, and now she was putting that belief into action. As the days passed, Lena worked tirelessly to ensure the scholarship would be successful. With the help of Mr. Bennett's contribution, she was able to expand the program and offer more opportunities to students. She reached out to local high schools, spread the word on social media, and connected with community leaders to get the message out. The response was overwhelming. And soon, Lena was reviewing applications from students who were eager to take the next step in their education. One of the applications stood out to her in particular. It was from a young woman named Maya, who had grown up in a similar neighborhood to Lena's. Maya's story was one of struggle. Her family had faced financial hardships, and she had worked multiple jobs to support herself while still excelling in school. Her dream was to attend college, but like Lena once had, she didn't have the means to make that dream a reality. Maya's application was filled with passion, hope, and determination. It reminded Lena so much of herself. Lena knew that offering Maya the scholarship would be a way for her to pass on the gift she had received all those years ago. She reached out to Maya personally, letting her know that she had been selected for the scholarship. The joy and gratitude in Maya's voice made it all worth it. It was the moment Lena had been waiting for. The moment when she knew her efforts had truly made a difference. It had been a few years since Lena had started the scholarship fund, and it had grown into something much bigger than she could have ever imagined. The program had helped dozens of students, all of whom were now working toward their dreams just like Lena had. She had been able to offer opportunities to people who had the same ambition, the same drive she once had, but lacked the resources to make their dreams come true. But despite all the success, Lena still felt like something was missing. She had always been grateful for the chance Mr. Bennett had given her, and she had done her best to give that same chance to others. But now she realized that she wanted to do more. She wanted to show Mr. Bennett just how much his faith in her had meant, not just by helping others, but by honoring the man who had started it all. Lena had never forgotten the kindness Mr. Bennett had shown her all those years ago, when she had been just another maid cleaning his mansion. He had seen something in her when no one else had. He had given her a scholarship, believing in her potential when all she had was hope. And that belief had changed the course of her life forever. She knew that it was time to return the favor, in the most meaningful way she could. She had made a name for herself in the business world, and now she wanted to use her success to honor the man who had helped her get there. She spent months planning, organizing, and putting together an event that would surprise Mr. Bennett and show him how much she appreciated everything he had done for her. The day of the event arrived, and Lena was nervous. She had invited Mr. Bennett to a small gathering at the mansion where he had once lived, the place where their journey had started. It wasn't a grand event, just a small group of close friends, colleagues, and scholarship recipients. But it meant the world to Lena. As she stood in front of the guests preparing to speak, Lena felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had come so far, and it was all because of the opportunities she had been given. She looked out at the faces in the room, students who had benefited from the scholarship, people who had supported her along the way, and, of course, Mr. Bennett, who had made it all possible. Lena took a deep breath and began to speak. Thank you all for being here tonight. It means so much to me to be able to stand here and share this moment with all of you. When I started my journey, I never could have imagined that I would be here today, talking to such an incredible group of people. I never imagined that I would be able to help others the way that I've been helped. She paused, her voice growing softer as she continued. There's someone here tonight who has made all of this possible for me, someone who believed in me when no one else did. When I was just a maid, cleaning rooms in a mansion, I never imagined that one act of kindness could change the course of my life. But that's exactly what happened. Lena turned toward Mr. Bennett, who was sitting quietly in the corner of the room, his eyes filled with pride and warmth. Mr. Bennett, you gave me a chance when no one else would. You saw something in me, and you gave me the opportunity to go to college, to build a future for myself. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself, and for that I will be forever grateful. There was a moment of silence in the room, and then Lena spoke again, her voice shaking slightly with emotion. I've spent the last few years trying to give back, to offer others the same opportunity you gave me. I've started this scholarship fund to help students who are in the same position I was, students who have dreams but don't have the means to make them come true. And tonight I want to do something special. Lena reached into her pocket and pulled out an envelope. She walked over to Mr. Bennett, who looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Mr. Bennett, I want to honor you tonight, she said, her voice steady now. You changed my life, and I want to make sure that your legacy continues. I've decided to name this scholarship after you. From this moment forward, it will be known as the Bennett Scholarship Fund. The room fell silent as the words sank in. Mr. Bennett's eyes filled with tears as he stood up to embrace Lena. Lena, I don't know what to say, he said, his voice thick with emotion. This is the greatest honor I could ever receive. I never expected anything in return for helping you, but to know that I've made a difference in your life, and in the lives of so many others. It means more to me than you could ever know. Lena smiled as she looked at him, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. This was the moment she had been working toward, the moment when she could show Mr. Bennet just how much he had meant to her. She knew that the scholarship would continue to help countless students for years to come, but she also knew that it was more than just a name. It was a symbol of everything Mr. Bennet had done for her, and everything she wanted to give back to the world. The rest of the evening was filled with laughter, stories, and a sense of community. The students who had received the scholarship shared their experiences, talking about how it had changed their lives, just as Lena's life had been changed. It was a celebration of success, of hard work, and of the power of generosity. As the event came to a close, Lena stood outside on the balcony, looking out at the city below. It was a warm evening, and the stars were just beginning to appear in the sky. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she had done something meaningful, something that would have a lasting impact. She thought back to the day when she had first met Mr. Bennet, when she had been nothing more than a maid cleaning his mansion. She thought about the girl who had been so unsure of herself, who had never believed that she could achieve anything beyond her circumstances. But now here she was, standing on the balcony of a mansion, surrounded by people who cared about her, with a scholarship fund in her name that would help countless students pursue their dreams. Lena knew that her journey was far from over. There was still so much more to do, so many more lives to touch, and so many more opportunities to create. But in that moment, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had come so far, and she knew that the best was yet to come.